it's hard to be an oracle, but 4 months into it, it would be tough for the European Union to execute them as they are written. As strict as they are written, I don't believe the EU will be able to execute them as they are written.
Map It Forward Business Mastermind groups are back for 2024. And if past mastermind groups are anything to go by, you absolutely want to be a part of this if you're a business owner ready for change. Spots are limited to 10 people per group. And if you own a business in the coffee sector and are looking for support in a nurturing and focused group coaching environment, this could be the thing that helps you through these challenging times in coffee and jumpstarts your planning for 2025. There are 3 mastermind groups, each with a different business focus. I will be your coach, and the first one will be focused on strategic business planning, the second one on business growth, and the third on increasing your sales in coffee, both B2B and B2C. Groups start the week commencing October 7, and prices start at $189 per month for 3 months. You get a discount if you pay all 3 months in advance. Previous participants found these groups life-changing for their business, and all groups come with a 100% money-back guarantee. If you're interested in finding out more or registering, head to mapitforward.coffee/group coaching or check the links in the show notes for details. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 1 of a brand new series with Pedro Manga from Caravela Coffee. Pedro, welcome to the podcast for the first time.
Thank you very much for the invite. Very excited to be here.
I am very excited to have you here because I know a dangerous amount of stuff about EUDR. Just enough to be dangerous in a conversation, and we need to fix that because I think that there are a lot of people in the industry who have heard of EUDR or who have read a little bit about EUDR and are panicking about it. And in this series, we're going to talk about EUDR from the perspective of a coffee trader. So you work for Caravela, which is a coffee trader. Tell us what a coffee trader does.
Depends on the coffee trader. But what we do is that we go directly to producers. We purchase the coffee directly from them, and then we're vertically integrated to sell that coffee directly to roasters. Now, in that process, there could be different links in how it works, and it could be different players in between and fulfilling those same roles, from buying the coffee to processing the coffee, milling the coffee, importing it. It varies on the length of the supply chain.
And Caravela is completely vertically integrated in that process?
Yes, we have buying stations in the coffee communities where we source coffee, and we are hard asset investment. We have people there from the coffee communities that buy the coffee and perform the technical assistance and education process. And then we mill the coffee ourselves and have import offices in 4 different continents.
Okay, amazing.
To the roasters.
Now, Pedro, what role do you play in Caravela that EUDR has virtually become what you're married to for the past couple of years?
Well, I'm very fortunate of the role I have. I lead the prosperity and impact strategy for Caravela, which is not about recycling. It's definitely a leading strategy and a leading efforts in the industry. So I'm basically deciding how we assess the impact across the supply chain, and then developing the tools to report and communicate that impact downstream and to our stakeholders.
Okay. And how important has EUDR been in your life the last couple of years, your professional life in the last couple of years?
About 60% of it, definitely, on average, for sure. Very important, and for us, it's very important because it validates what we have been doing. It's an opportunity for transparency to be valued along the supply chain. And then it is a chance for us to excel what we have been doing in traceability and being close to the producers.
Yeah, because I definitely am seeing in the market that there are some people that are terrified by this, and there are other people who are looking at this and saying this is going to be a flex for us because this is what we've been working on. Before the introduction of EUDR, this is what we stood for. This was a part of our value statement. And now this kind of clears the path for us to move forward. I wasn't aware that this is what Caravela was doing. And by the way, folks, Caravela is not in any way in business with Mapple Forward. We haven't had anyone from Caravela on the podcast for quite some time, except for Brian Gaffney. Brian, I didn't know that Brian was a member of Caravela. He had just joined the team when he joined the team. So shout out to Brian. He's fantastic. Everybody loves Brian. But the thing is, there are some people who are very nervous about EUDR. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about the intended impact of EUDR versus the real impact that it's going to have. So for those who don't know what EUDR is, since you've been married to the 42 pages of EUDR for the past couple of years, why don't you tell them what it is?
So the EUDR is this European Commission directive that is intended to protect the forest around the world in producing countries for 9 different commodities that are sold in the EU market. What the Commission wants to ensure is that the consumption of these 9 products is deforestation free, and that the consumer in the union are safe, that they are not contributing to deforestation with their purchases of these products, and then the EU is mitigating and reducing the carbon footprint of the whole union. That, in a nutshell, is what the directive is.
Okay. And what is the intended impact of it?
Well, it's written to protect the forest. It's written to protect the environment and what remains of pristine forests and primary forests around the world. They have a definition of what a forest is. Specifically, it's a 0.5 hectare plot where with tree cover above certain level that has been there for X amount of years. That's what they define as forest, and they want to protect that around the world. So that's the intended impact of the regulation. It's thought from the Europeans, and it is a step forward. It's a step forward to that common goal. Like, we cannot expect for human empathy to spark in everybody at the same time to protect the environment. And maybe instead of waiting for that moment that empathy sparks, we need a top-bottom directive that kind of align the whole effort in protecting those forests. So that's the intended. It's a top-down directive to protect the environment.
So if I understand you correctly, and put in very plain terms, left to us to do it, it's never going to get done. And this directive, there are some people that are doing it. You've been focused on it at Caravela, but industry-wide, and this is happening in 11 commodities, correct? So it's not just for coffee, folks. It's for a bunch of different commodities. But left to industry to do it, because there's nobody policing it, and because there's nobody holding people accountable, and there's no punishments before EUDR, there was never really going to be any kind of standard that people, out of the goodwill of their heart, particularly industry, we weren't going to reach those directives, and forest was going to continue to be depleted. This forces everybody to meet a directive or be punished for it in very specific ways?
You need a systemic approach. You need a
Right.
policy in order to achieve those goals. By composting home by home, we're not going to get there. We need like common directive, a protocol that ensures industry-wide, because you could do it home by home, but and you can go and ride your bike to your office every day. But then if the industry is not committed to it,
Right.
then all those efforts are lost in less than a second.
Okay. So that's the intended impact of the document. And to put some more clarity on it, it's legislation, correct? So it's
Yes.
it's not like an MOU which can't be enforced. If you don't prove that your coffee hasn't come from deforestation, you won't be allowed to import coffee into Europe, correct?
It has different sanctions, and the sanctions vary on when the sanction is imposed, from not letting the coffee enter the union to recall the coffee.
Okay. But there's a consequence to not adhering to it. Okay.
It's a must.
And
as it's agreed.
how clear is it? Because I'm hearing people up in arms about the fact that there's no clarity around it. We don't know what's included and what's not included. You know the document well. How clear is it?
It's as clear as their intention was, I think. They cannot be specific and determine what the protocol is, because they are not going to be accountable for the protocols of the due diligence and how the risk must be done. They provide the exact amount of guidelines that you need to develop and structure and a strategy towards. I believe it is, and this is my opinion, it is based on fear. Like based on fear and this kind of uncertainty, you develop the best practices you can in order to meet, because it is legislation it is important for everybody to attend there and not be caught or stigmatized by it. So everybody does the best effort for it. So it provides those guidelines. It obviously leaves some things to interpretation, and that's what creates certain fear and uncertainty.
So that's the intended impact, and plus a couple of extra things. Now I want to talk about the real impact. What do you think that the real impact from this will be? We're in the 11th hour. It comes into play at late December. What's the exact date? Do you know? 31st?
It's the 1st of January.
The 1st of January. Okay. So the 1st of January, the legislation comes in. And what is the real life impact of what's going to happen when it comes in?
It's hard to be an oracle, but 4 months into it, it would be tough for the European Union to execute them as they are written. As strict as they are written, I don't believe the EU will be able to execute them as they are written. And there might be different figures to be put in place in order to execute them in the long term, maybe. Hopefully not. But there is, this is gonna be executed by the same workforce or that has been in ports in Europe. There are no more ports, and as I said, operatively it starts in the 1st of June, in the 1st of January. But the amount of coffee, cocoa, and the other products to be entered before that, since November or October, to cover much of the market. It might be a line of cargo ships from Antwerp to Cartagena just trying to enter products in December. And I don't know if the EU is ready for that amount and to execute the due diligence and the audit on all those containers. It is only 9% allegedly, or 6%, depending on the risk of the country. But we don't have clarity neither today on the systems of how to do.
Just pause for a second there. Is what you're saying is from now until the end of this year, before EUDR gets in place, there's people rushing to get coffee into Europe so that they don't have to worry about this legislation?
If you listen to the fear around and people expressing not being ready, and countries like Brazil expressing not being ready and asking the EU just last week to,
pause and
push,
pause
and push forward the regulation, then you might think that if the EU stands underground, they might be trying to enter as much coffee as possible before the regulations take place.
Right, which is what's causing people to rush to get coffee there and is going to put some strains at holiday seasons, which are usually strained anyway, with cargo. To add on top of that, a rush to get these commodities could be a significant challenge.
I mean, for me, it's not hard to imagine that they will be overwhelmed in January, and it won't be fair with half of the systems ready or not completely ready to execute it as it is written. So There might be figures or transition figures to be put in place, and I don't know until when. I mean, I don't know if that's true. That's what I think. You asked me what's the real, and I think that they won't be executed as they are written since the 1st of January.
Well, it seems like there's going to be surely they're going to have to implement a transition period. Even though they've said it's starting the 1st, is there been any indication of if they've tested the certifications? Have they tested the processing? Have they communicated any of that?
Look, communication has been poor, but there has been pilot projects with big exporters that have been testing the systems. There was a time frame of communication. For example, the platform of due diligence was first introduced at the end of February, early March, and it was supposed to be reintroduced and updated in mid-June, but we haven't had the access to that platform yet, or the communication of that platform. But I know they are working. Of course, they have to be working, and there are different exporters working also on developing those systems, and different, for example, on the ground, the FNC in Colombia is doing pilot projects on the ground level on how to ensure the EUDR with the producers and with a big or a massive baseline of producers. So, but those pilots are being carried on to 2024, and the regulations came out 3 years ago. So we have spent the 3 years on lobby and then 8 in piloting this.
In a previous life, I used to work at IBM as a project manager. And the projects that I worked on were the transition from one software program to another software program. So it was all about transitions. And never, ever did it go smoothly. We normally needed the same amount of time in planning as we did in transition in order to make sure that by the time it went live, it worked well. And even then it didn't go smoothly. So, I mean, what could go wrong, right? It's just Europe's food supply that's at stake.
And the life of millions of smallholder farmers around the world. It's because if it does not work, or if it is not executed, then you have not the intended impact.
Right.
You will have you will have the impact without having it. Europe will be drinking the same coffee from the same farms, independently if they are deforested or not, and will be sold as deforestation free. But it won't be, because it won't be executed, the regulations as they are. So the impact might be worse than the one intended.
So the unintended consequences of this situation are that it's supposed to be making sure that deforestation doesn't continue during coffee production. But if it's not executed properly, that may continue to happen.
It may continue to happen, and then it might be even harder to stop, because there has been all this communication effort, and then you will have to stop this communication effort, and then reignite it again. So that doesn't happen in a day or two.
No.
And it's a tough one to do, and it will have a massive impact on all the efforts that have been put in place to meet and comply with the regulations as they are written today.
Yeah, wow. This sets us up for the next conversation in this series, which is the mechanics of EUDR and the uncertainty underpinning the path forward. So join us for the next episode, folks. I'm going to tell you a fun fact in the beginning of the next episode. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, friends. Please don't forget to show us some love by subscribing, liking, commenting, and most of all, sharing this podcast with your friends. Check the show notes for links, including our sponsors and our Patreon, and stay tuned for more great conversations on the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward.